Hello, students. Once again, we're welcome to Waidsum University. This is Network Essential Management, and once again, we are in Chapter 4, Part 4, and this one has to do with wireless networking technologies, the different types of technologies that are used with wireless connectivity. One of it is the Bluetooth, the WiMax, the RFID, and the mobile communication technologies. Now, without much ado, let's begin. Now, the introductory part of this is we kind of looking at what we have to meet in this section, in this part of the chapter. And this part of the chapter we'll be looking at about 4 things, not actually 3. We said 3, but actually we'll be looking at 4 things. The first part is the Bluetooth. We're going to look at the Bluetooth technology. Okay, let me highlight our pen. Okay, the first part we'll be looking at is the Bluetooth. Okay, we're going to be looking at the Bluetooth and the Bluetooth itself, how it works, and so on and so forth. And then the second part we'll be looking at the WiMax. Okay, we'll be looking at the WiMax. The third part we'll be looking at the RFID, radio frequency identification, and the fourth part, which we did right here, it's the mobile communication technologies, the technologies that are used with mobile communications. Okay, so this fourth segment we're going to look at in this chapter. Quickly, let's move on. Now, we say each of these technologies, they play very cognizant and very significant roles in the wireless network whenever we're doing wireless network. So we take them into cognizance, we take them into very keenly in their applications in different wireless network. Now, these sections we examine each of these wireless technology, including their configuration. We look at their configurations and give examples of the hardware that each of them is being used with. So each of the technology we match with the different hardware that it is suitable with. So we're going to look at that in essence. Now let's move on quickly. Now let's take a look at the first one, which we call the Bluetooth technology. Now, the Bluetooth technology we looked at Bluetooth, which is based on the 802.15. You know, the ones we've been talking about previously were the 802.11. Now, the Bluetooth technology is a standard that falls under the IEEE standard of 802.11 categorization. Now, the Bluetooth was developed to replace the cable-connected computers together. So instead of using cables to connect computers in order to sell your files, in order to sell your graphics, in order to sell your data, your videos, with the help of wires, using wires to connect your phone to your computers, you can use a Bluetooth technology within a short range to transfer your files or your data, your movies, your whatever from your phone to your laptops without using any wire. So the Bluetooth technology was developed for this short distance transmission to send files, data, graphics, whatever, videos from one computer device to another computer device. Okay, from one computer device to another computer. It could be from phone to phones, could be from hardware devices to hardware devices, from portable devices to portable devices, from mobile phones to mobile phones, from any other fixed electronic devices to, as it were. Could be from one to the other or from the same kinds of electronic devices. So that was what Bluetooth was developed for. Instead of using wire to connect, after using your camera to shoot movie or to take pictures, instead of looking for wire to connect to your mobile phones, instead of looking for wire to connect them to your computers, your laptops, your desktops, or your pad, your Macs, or all these other computer devices, instead of using for wire to connect them, we just develop a gateway technology that can help us set them wirelessly, without using wire to connect these two devices together. Now, this information is transmitted over a bandwidth channel of 2.4 gigahertz. ISM, like we said last time, is instrumentation, scientific, and medical band. So we said the 2.4 gigahertz ISM frequency band, which is the same frequency band that is used for the 802.11b, 802.11g, 802.11n. Okay. Now let's quickly take a look at. We said there are three output power classes for Bluetooth. For every Bluetooth, there are 3 power output that they use. We have the different class. We have class 1, class 2, class 3. Each of the class has their designated power output that it uses. Each of the classes has its own designated power output. For class 1, the power output is 20 decibel meter. So class 1 is using 20 decibel meter, and it covers an operating distance of 100 meters. So this power has a power capacity of 20 decibel and per meter within a meter, and it can go a distance of up to 100 meter. Okay. Now for class 2, it has 4 decibel meter, and it can cover up to 10 meter distance. And for class 3, the power is just 0 decibel meter, and it covers only 1 meter. Okay. For class 3, most of the, like your phone, they usually designated into this category, the class 3, 0 decibel meter, and it covers a range of 1 meter only to transfer the data wirelessly from one device to another device. Okay, so let's move on quickly. Now let's look at a query procedure. Before Bluetooth can work, it has the first it sets up a relationship. You know, Bluetooth is a technology between 2 devices that operates wirelessly to send data, files, graphics, videos, whatever you have in one device to be sent to another. Now, in order for this to happen, the first thing that is established is called the query procedure. Now, when a Bluetooth device is enabled, like you on your Bluetooth in your phone, that's the enablement that we're talking about. So you on the Bluetooth, you switch it on. So when the Bluetooth device is enabled, it uses what we call the query procedure to determine if other Bluetooth devices are available. So if I want to send anything to anybody, I'll tell the person, please turn on your Bluetooth, and I have to turn on my Bluetooth. So the query procedure is the Bluetooth is, once it's enabled, it finds which Bluetooth is around it within its zone, geographical arena or geographical place. It finds which other Bluetooth is enabled as well. Okay, that's the query. It requires which Bluetooth is available in order to set up a connection. Is that okay? So that's the first stage, to determine if any other Bluetooth devices are available for it to operate with, for it to transmit data with or data packets with wirelessly. Now, the next thing is that this procedure is also used to allow itself to be discovered, not only to inquire if another Bluetooth is available, it also gives an opportunity to other Bluetooth that are available to find out if itself it's available, because it's a two-way thing. You find out a Bluetooth is available. The Bluetooth also establishes if you are available. So that's the first thing it does. Now let's move still more on Bluetooth. Let's dig more on Bluetooth. Now, if a Bluetooth device is discovered when they already like, okay, I'm available, you are available, and I want to send files from my phone or from my computers to your computers. When the connection is already established, when we discover, okay, you are available, the query procedure has already been set up and the connection has been established that, okay, both of us are available, then it sends an query feedback to the Bluetooth device initiating the query. Okay, because the Bluetooth A has already sent a message to Bluetooth B, okay, you are available, you say yes. Then this one will say send a message, a query feedback, a feedback message to Bluetooth A. B will now send a feedback message to Bluetooth A and say, oh, are you the one asking if I'm available? And you say, yeah. I want to send something to you. You see, that kind of communication, literally. That kind of communication, literally. So, like, okay, you are available. Are you the one asking if I'm available? Yeah. I want to send something to you. So, this is established between two Bluetooths. Now, next thing that happens is that the Bluetooth devices enter the page procedure. So after a query procedure and the establishment of connection between the two Bluetooth, the next procedural process is that the both devices will enter into what we call the page procedure. Now, what is page procedure? The page procedure is used to establish and synchronize a connection, not only to establish and also to synchronize a connection between the two Bluetooth devices. So that's the paging procedure. After step 1 is a query procedure. After that is established, and a feedback message has been said, and it's been confirmed. Yeah, I'm the one. I want to send something to you. Are you the one asking if I'm available? Yeah. Yeah, because I want to send something to you. When that is established, the next thing is that the Bluetooth devices enter into what we call the paging procedure, as we've said. Now, this paging procedure simply means that it's used to establish and to synchronize connection between the two Bluetooth. The two Bluetooth will establish a connection, and they also synchronize it. Not only establishing a connection, because probably there are other connections around. Okay, there are other Bluetooth other people probably that have put on their Bluetooth, but you're not sending it to them. You're not sending it to them. So that's not the paging procedure now. That's probably an query procedure. Query procedure. Now, the paging procedure is not only to find out whether the Bluetooth is available. The paging procedure also establish and synchronize the connection. Okay, it's you I'm sending it to. Okay, I'm sending it to you. Okay, when I send, I'm sending it to you. So I'm sending it to you. That's a paging procedure. You establish the connection and also synchronize the connection between these two Bluetooth. Now, once the procedures for establishing the connection has been completed, the next is that the Bluetooth device will have to establish what we call the piconet. The Bluetooth devices, these two Bluetooth or multiple Bluetooths that are connected or that have established and synchronized the connection between or among themselves, we now establish what we call the piconet. Now, what is a piconet? A piconet is just like a mini network. It's like a hard hook network of up to like about 8 Bluetooth devices. Now, these 8 Bluetooth devices are not like 8 different phones, as it were. It could be you and the next guy you're sending to, but however, the headset, your computer itself is a Bluetooth. Your mouse it has a Bluetooth connectivity, because today now we have wireless mouse which operates using Bluetooth connectivity. Using a Bluetooth connectivity in order to transmit or transfer files or data or functionality within the piconet. Now, the piconet is something that is a wireless connections of Bluetooth that has something to do with the things that are connected with your handset, your computer, your mouse, your headset, your earpiece, because your earpiece also now is wireless. We have wireless earpiece, okay? So your earpiece is wireless, so is a Bluetooth connectivity to your small piconet, okay? So your computer, your earpiece, your headset, your mouse, all these are now Bluetooth developed, Bluetooth technologically developed. So yours and the person you are sending to, who also has a computer and a headset that is Bluetooth without wire, a mouse without wire, and an earpiece without wire, all of these things form what we call a small network or a small wireless network called the piconet. So this is for you is about 4, for the person you're sending to is about 4. So we simply say a piconet is a hard hook network of up to about 8 Bluetooth devices. Okay, about 8 Bluetooth devices. This Bluetooth, like I'm saying, they are not like 8 different establishment or 8 different personality that you're sending to. It could just be you and the next person you're sending to, but because you are using a wireless headset, it's a Bluetooth connection. Your mouse is a Bluetooth connection, is wireless. Your earpiece is wireless. Your computer is wireless. So all of this forms about 4 devices in your whole piconet, and the person you're sending to also has 4 devices in his piconet. So this forms a piconet of about 8 devices in this wireless array. Okay. Now, in a piconet, one Bluetooth device that is called the master, and is responsible for providing the synchronization clock reference. Could be your computer with your Bluetooth connection, or your phone, your mobile phone with your Bluetooth connection. So the big guy who is sending is the master, and being the master, he is responsible for providing the synchronization, and he is responsible for providing synchronization clock reference, and all other Bluetooth devices that are connected in this array or the matrix array of connectivity they are called the slaves. They are called the slaves. So take note. Every other Bluetooth device in this orthogonal array, or in this arrangement, or in this matrix arrangement, is called the slave. But the master is the one that established the synchronization clock reference and sends all this data to every other device, or send the files, or whatever it is, the photos, the videos, or whatever you're sending across a short distance to all of these other devices that are connected to this matrix array of this Bluetooth, and every other devices that are connected to this matrix array of these Bluetooths are called the slaves. Okay, now let's move on quickly for the sake of time. So that's for Bluetooth. Now let's go to another technology that is used with wireless network. Another technology apart from the Bluetooth, we say Bluetooth characteristically they use for short distance transmission. And so if we need a bit of distance, and then we move to another technology that is being used for this characterization. Now that technology that is being used for another technology that is being used for this characterization is called the WiMax. The WiMax. WiMax is worldwide interoperability for microwave access. That's just the abbreviation, what it stands for, what WiMax stands for. Worldwide interoperability for microwave access. That's what WiMax stands for. Okay, this W is worldwide, I is interoperability, and M is microwave, and then AX is access. Is that okay? And then we said now we know what it stands for. We know the acronyms. We know the acronyms and the words that forms these acronyms. Now, what does it mean? So, have you said that WiMax means worldwide interoperability for microwave access? It's simply a broadband wireless system. You know, we have a Wi-Fi, we have a broadband. This WiMax is simply a broadband wireless system and has been developed for use as a broadband wireless access. So anytime you connect a broadband, sometimes broadband wireless are put in there, something like a pen drive, okay, for connections, to provide the wireless connections to your laptops and every other thing that is around, available, or around within that a shorter distance around. Now we say that the broadband wireless system has been developed for use as broadband wireless access. So their usage is simply noted as broadband wireless access. Their usage, or the umbrella usage, is called the broadband wireless access, BWA, for fixed and mobile stations. For fixed and mobile, so you can have it and just insert it to your laptop to provide Wi-Fi, to provide broadband internet to your computers. Is that okay? For fixed and for mobile stations, and will also be able to provide a wireless alternative for last mile broadband access in your 2 gigahertz to 66 gigahertz frequency range. Now, what do we mean by the word last mile? Last mile is just from, if you look at mobile telecommunication, your data or your message always come from your, what you call the antenna, the big, the mask. So from the mask to the client, to the customers, is your last mile. We call it the last mile. From the BTS to further transmissions to long distance location is not the last mile. The last mile is from your mask to where you are, to the user. Where you are is your last mile. It's simply called the last mile. So we say the broadband wireless access is used for fixed, and also used for fixed like your laptop, and can also be used by mobile stations to establish and provide a wireless alternative for last mile broadband access in your 2 gigahertz frequency bandwidth and up to 66 gigahertz frequency bandwidth. Okay? Now we say the broadband wireless access, BWA access, for fixed stations can be up to 30 miles. For fixed station can be up to 30 miles, can cover up to 30 miles. While for mobile, if you're using it for mobile station, is within 3 to 10 miles. If you're using it for mobile is within 3 to 10 miles. So you take note. If you're using it for fixed station, it can cover up to 30 miles. And if you're using it for mobile application, it can only cover 3 miles and roughly up to a maximum of 10 miles. Then internationally, WiMax frequency standards will be 3.5 gigahertz. That's the bandwidth frequency. While the United States use both the unlicensed one of about 5.8 gigahertz. This is unlicensed, okay? And the licensed one of 2.5 gigahertz spectrum. In the United States, they have the licensed frequency bandwidth for WiMax of 2.5 gigahertz spectrum, while the unlicensed one is about 5.8 gigahertz frequency spectrum. Okay? Now let's move on. Still on WiMax, WiMax also provide flexible channel sizes. Small channel sizes that are not up to gig. Mega is just like 1,000. When I say 1 megahertz, I'm saying 1,000 hertz. That's what I'm saying. So when I say mega represents 1,000. So if I say WiMax also have, they provide flexible channel sizes such as 3.5 megahertz. That's 3.5 times 1,000. Okay, 3.5 times 1,000. Then 5 megahertz, which is 5,000. This one is 3,500 hertz. 5 megahertz is 5,000 hertz. 10 megahertz is 10,000 hertz. Okay, so these are called portable channels, small channels, because they are not up to gig. They are not up to gig, 2.4 gig channels or 3.5 gig channels. You know, the licensed one in the United States is 2.5 gig channel, and the unlicensed one is 5.8 gig channel. Beyond those big one, gig, which is gig, like I said, gig is one. Sorry, I think I made a little mistake. Mega is 1 million, okay? Mega is 1 million. Is a kilo that is 1,000. Mega is 1 million. So if I say 3.5 megahertz, what I'm saying is that I'm saying 3.5 times a million. Okay, 3.5 times 1 million, which is 3,500,000 hertz. Okay, these are still portable because they are less than gig. Gig is a billion. Gig is billion. Okay, billion hertz frequency. Okay, but for this one, they are called portable because they are just million. They are not up to billion. That's why we say they are portable channels. Okay, the WiMax also operate with flexible channel sizes of about 3.5 megahertz, which is 1 million hertz, and then this is 5 megahertz, which is 5 million hertz. So okay, it's not thousands, like I earlier portrayed. And then 10 megahertz, which is 10 million, and then they provide adaptability to standard for WiMax worldwide. They are adaptable to WiMax worldwide. They can operate with WiMax worldwide. And this also helps to ensure that the maximum data transfer rate is being supported. Now, for example, the allocated channel bandwidth could be 6 megahertz, and the adaptability of the WiMax channel size allows it to adjust to use the entire allocated bandwidth. So, though you may have a portable 6 megahertz bandwidth, but it's adaptable and is allowable to be used with the entire allocated bandwidth of the WiMax. Is that okay? So that's the good news about it. Now let's still on WiMax. The WiMax IEEE 802.16e. Remember the Bluetooth was IEEE 802.15, but for WiMax it's IEEE 802.16e. Okay, so we say the WiMax IEEE 802.16e media access control, the MAC layer, differs from the IEEE 802.11 Wi-Fi MAC layer that we've studied in the previous section. Okay, they differ in that the WiMax system only has to compete once to gain entrance into the network. The WiMax system only has to compete once to get entrance into the system. Once it gains entrance into the system, it becomes automatic. You don't have to every time gain entrance. It's already connected to it. It's just like you save your password. If you save your password every time you want to log in, you don't have to be looking for your password or be typing in your password. You don't have to struggle to gain access to it. Anytime you open it, it will open for you automatically because you've saved your password in that particular device. So that's the advantage the WiMax IEEE 802.16 has and the MAC media access control, the MAC layer. This is the advantage it has, and that's why it's different from the 802.11 Wi-Fi MAC layer. In the WiMax one, it always struggle to gain access once. Once it gains access into the network for one time, every other time it has access. Every other time it has access. This is the advantage it has over the Wi-Fi MAC address layer system, the IEEE 802.11. Okay, now we say once a WiMax unit has gained access, it is allocated a time slot by the base station, thereby providing the WiMax with a scheduled access to the network. Once it gained access, when the WiMax unit gained access, it is allocated a time slot. It's given a time slot. That's why it's only one time it has to struggle to gain access. Once it has gained access, it is allocated a time slot by the base station, thereby providing the WiMax with the scheduled access to the network. It's already a scheduled access to the network. It doesn't have to, it has been allocated a time slot already. It doesn't have to be looking for access to the network anymore. This is one big advantage it has over the IEEE 802.11 Wi-Fi MAC layer. Okay? Now, the WiMax operate in a collision-free environment, which improves the channel throughput. The channel operation is enhanced. A collision-free environment. How does this happen? Now we say WiMax has a range of up to 31 miles. The WiMax has a range of up to 31 miles, and it operates in both the point-to-point and point-to-multipoint configuration. The WiMax operates in both the point-to-point configuration and point-to-multipoint configuration. Now this can be useful in situations where the DSL, okay, the direct subscriber links, where the DSL or the cable network connectivity is not available. So this becomes a guaranteed advantage for usage where the DSL is not available or the cable network connectivity is not available. WiMax is also useful for providing the last mile connection. I've already explained the meaning of last mile. Last mile is from your base station to the client or the customer. Okay? The base station connection or your mobile telecommunication service provider to your customer. That's called the last mile. WiMax is useful for providing the last mile connection. We use the WiMax technology to connect from this telecommunication service provider to the customers. That's where another place where WiMax finds a very strong application. The last mile is basically the last part of the connection from the telecommunication provider to the customers. That's what we call the last mile. Please take note. The last mile is the point from the connections from the telecommunication service provider to the customer. That's what we call the last mile. Now, the cost of the last mile connection can be expensive, which makes a wireless alternative attractive to the customer. The cost is expensive, so if we can find a alternative wireless means to connect, will be welcomed. And because of that leads us to what we call the RFID. Since the WiMax being used for last mile is expensive to connect from the telecommunication service provider to the customer, the cost is expensive, then this leaves us with no choice to find an alternative that will be attractive to the customer in terms of cost and robustness, and that leads us to another technology that can be used wirelessly to connect our devices, to connect wireless devices. And that technology is no other than what we call the RFID. That technology is no other than what we call the RFID. RFID simply represents radio frequency identification. Radio frequency identification. And it's a technique that is used, or that uses radio waves to track and identify people Okay, a technique that uses radio waves to track and identify people. Not only people, it identify animals, it identify objects like cars, any object that's available in its parts. It's able to identify it. It's also used to identify shipments. The shipments that has been made, the ships sailing on the rivers. So the RFID is a huge technology that has been developed for wireless transmission and reception. Now, this is done by the principle of what we call the modulated backscatter. Modulated backscatter. We're going to talk about what the meaning of backscatter is. The term backscatter is referring to the reflection of a radio wave striking the RFID tag. You know, we have a reader. In the RFID configuration, we have a reader. Let me use arrow as a reader. And then we have another one called the tag. Let's use T. So when the reader transmits to the tag, then the tag will be reflected. The message will be reflected back to the reader. That's what we call the backscatter. So we said the term backscatter refers to the reflection of the radio wave striking the RF tag whenever and reflecting back to the transmitter source. Transmitter is the what we call the reader. Transmitter is the reader, and the tag is the transponder. The tag is the transponder. So here is the transponder, the tag. The transmitter is the reader. So the reader transmits, because it's a transmitter, transmission and reception, that's the meaning of transmitter. The reader transmits, which is a transmitter. It transmits a radio wave or a radio signal, and when the radio signal hits the tag is called the transponder. It will be reflected back to the reader or the transceiver. So that characterization, that electrical characterization or scenario is what we call the backscatter. Is what we call modulated backscatter. Okay? Is what we call the backscatter. Now reflecting back to the transmitter source with its stored unique identification information. All the information that were transmitted, that were stored, that were sent to the tag and hit the tag, reflected back to the transmitter, transceiver, or what we call the reader, is called, that phenomenon is called the backscatter. Is that okay? Now let's move on quickly. Now let's see how it works. Let's move this one away from here so that we can see. Now here is the reader. The reader, like I said, is also called the transceiver. It's also called the transceiver. The reader transmits this wave, electrical wave, okay, to the tag. When it hits the tag, it will be reflected back. It will be reflected back as a modulated backscatter. The process is called what we call the backscatter. But it uses what we call the reflection mechanism that you learned in wave in physics. Okay? So when it hits this, it's reflected back. The radio wave is reflected back as a modulated wave. It's reflected back. So when it comes here, it's called the backscatter. It's called the backscatter. Now the RFID consists of two things. The first one is called the RFID tag, which is this one. The RFID tag. And the RFID reader. The RFID reader. RFID has two phenomena, two concepts. The first one is the RFID tag, and the second one is called the RFID reader. The tag is also called the transponder, RF transponder, which includes an integrated circuit with antenna and radio electronics. It includes integrated circuit with antenna and with radio electronics. I'm going to show you the circuitry diagram. An integrated circuit with antenna and a radio electronics. Then the second one is the reader. This one is the reader. The reader is a transceiver. Reader is also called the transceiver, which consists of a transceiver and an antenna. It has an antenna, okay? A transceiver and an antenna to transmit the radio wave to the tag. When it hits the tag, it will be reflected back to this transceiver to be reflected back. So that process of reflection back to the source. It's like back to sender. It's like back to sender. Okay, that process of returning it back to sender is what we call the backscatter. Is what we call backscatter in electronics. Okay. Now let's move on. The reader, which is called the transceiver, transmit radio waves which activates or turn on the RFID tag. Whenever this reader transmits, it will first of all turn on the tag. It will turn it on. The tag will be on, will be alive, will be ready. Say, I'm ready, bring it on. I'm ready, bring it on. So whenever this reader, what we call the transceiver, transmit a radio wave, it will activate the RFID tag. It will turn it on. It will turn the RFID tag on. And then the tag then transmit modulated data. The tag itself will now transmit modulated data containing its unique identification information. Okay? In a process called the backscatter. Okay, it will transmit, the tag will transmit the modulated data, okay, containing the unique identification information stored in the tag back to the reader. It will send it back to the reader using what we call reflection mechanism. Now, the reader then extracts the data stored on the RFID tag. The reader will now extract the data that is stored on the RFID tag. Okay? This is how, or the principle of RFID system, how it works. Is that okay? Now, here is what we have, the RFID tag circuitry, what it looks like. It has what we call the integrated circuit. This one, this part, is called the integrated circuit. This part, okay, the integrated circuit. And then we have what we call the antennas. These are the antennas. And then we have what we call the substrate. The substrate. The outside layer is called the substrate. Okay, so this is how a typical RFID tag looks like. Now let's move on quickly. Now they are still on the RFID system. There are 3 parameters that defines an RFID system. These parameters include 1, the means of powering the tag. That's number 1, powering the tag. Number 2 is frequency of operation. Number 3 is communication protocols. Now we're going to look at them one after the other. One is powering the tag. How to power the tag? How do we supply power to the tag? How do we supply power to both the circuit and the antenna of the tag? Okay. Number 2 is frequency of operation. How do we designate frequency for its operation, the bandwidth? Number 3 is the communication protocol. What kind of language and what kind of what means of communication will this adopt? Okay. Now let's start with the powering the tag. Now the RFID tag are classified in 3 ways based on how they obtain their operating powers. The 3 different classifications include the passive, the semi-active, and the active. Based on this classification of RFID tag of powering the tag is based on how they receive their powers. We have the passive way of power reception, we have the semi-active way, and we have the active way of receiving power. Now let's take a look at the passive way of receiving power. In the passive concept, the power is provided to the tag by simply rectifying the RF energy. The power is provided to the tag by rectifying the RF energy transmitted from the reader that strikes the RF tag antennas. So we are just rectifying the energy coming from the reader. Okay, the tag gets the energy that it rectifies from the RF energy rectified from the reader. That's how the tag gets its energy. Is that okay? So this RF energy is given to the antenna. Now the rectified power level is sufficient to power the ICs on the tag and every other electronics on the tag, and also provide sufficient power for the tag to transmit a signal back to the reader. So in a nutshell, summarily, passive mode or passive means of receiving power in the tag is simply by rectifying the RF energy coming from the reader. Okay? And this energy, when it strikes the tag, the RF antenna, it will be absorbed, it will be taken. And this energy, we say, this rectified power level, we say is sufficient to power the ICs in the electronics circuitry and the antennas and every other thing. and also enough to transmit the signal back to the reader. Okay, now let's go to the semi-active way of receiving power in the tag. The semi-active way or means of receiving power in the tag includes that the tag use a battery to power the electronics. The tag use a battery to power the electronics on the tag. The tag itself uses a battery, has its own battery to power the electronics on the tag, but use the property of backscatter to transmit this information back to the reader. So the semi-active means of powering tag is to use a battery to power all the electronic circuitry in the tag, and then use the backscatter method to transmit the information back to the reader. That's the semi-active. Now the active uses a battery to power the tag, not just to power the electronics in the tag. Okay, you see why it's called active? The active means uses battery, they use battery to power the tag, the entire tag, not to power the electronic, only the electronics inside the tags, inside the tag. They use battery to power the entire tag and also to transmit a signal back to the reader. So basically this is a radio transmitter. Now, new active RFID tags are incorporating wireless Ethernet, and the 802.11b wireless connectivities are being incorporated to the new RFID tag. So the difference between active means of powering tag and semi-active is that the active uses battery to power the entire tag, while the semi-active uses battery to power only the electronics in the tag. Okay? So this is the electronics configuration, all the electronic circuitry in the tag. So when you power only the electronics, then you are doing what we call the semi-active. When you power the entire tag with a battery, then you are doing what we call the active means of powering the tag. And when you are rectifying the power from the RF energy, you're rectifying the RF energy or RF power from the reader to be used in the tag. That one is called the passive mode of getting power for the tag. Is that okay? So I think we've explained the 3 ways to power the tag in the RFID system. Now let's move on to the next one, the frequency of operation. Now the RFID tag must be turned to the reader's transmit. In the frequency of operation, we say the RFID tag must be tuned to the reader's transmit frequency to turn it on. You have to tune it in order to turn it on. The RFID tag must be tuned to the reader's transmit frequency. You know, the reader has a transmit frequency. The reader that is going to transmit has a transmit frequency. The tag must be tuned to that frequency in order to receive the radio wave, the frequency wave that is being transmitted by the reader. So you tune it to the frequency of the frequency of the reader in order for the tag to be able to receive what is being transmitted by the reader. Now the RFID system typically uses 3 frequency bands for operation. These frequency bands include the low frequency band, high frequency band, and ultra high frequency band. Now let's take a look at them one after the other. The low frequency band, the low frequency LF tags typically use a frequency shift key, what we call the FSK, frequency shift key between 125 to 134 kilohertz frequencies. So this is a low frequency because it's operating in the kilohertz bandwidth. So we say the low frequency use a modulation technique called the frequency shift key. A modulation technique called the frequency shift key, FSK, and operates within a bandwidth of 125 to 134 kilohertz frequencies. Now the data rates from these tags is as low as 12. When we say data rate, we are talking about the speed of transmission. Is as low as about 12 kilobit per second. Just kilo, not megabit per second. This is as low as 12 kilobit per second. And they are not appropriate for any application requiring fast data operation or transfer. These ones cannot be used for fast data transfer because it's just kilobit per second. The speed is not megabit per second. When you're looking for fast data transfer, we'll be looking at 200 megabits or above 200 megabit per second. That bit per second. Is that okay? However, the low frequency tags are suitable for animal identification. You can use them to identify animals, okay, such as dairy cattle and other livestock. You can use this low frequency to identify animals, okay. Now, the read range for low frequency tags are approximately 0.33 meters. So, if you multiply with 100, that will be about 33 centimeters. That will be about within 30 to 50 centimeters. That's low. That will be about low because it's 0.33 meters, which is around 33 centimeters. Is that okay? Now let's move on. Now, the high frequency in the frequency of operation for this concept, the high frequency bandwidth or the high frequency for the tag operates in the 13.56 megahertz. You can see this is not in the kilohertz. Just now, we were talking about kilohertz range. This one operates in the tag operates in the 30.56 megahertz frequency, and this is for industrial band. And we say it's known that the longer wavelengths of the high frequency radio signals are less susceptible to absorption by water and other liquids. For these reasons, we simply say that these high frequency tags are best suited for tagging liquids. When you want to locate liquids, identify liquids, we can use these frequency bands. Now, the read range for high frequency tags is approximately about 1 meter, not 0.33 meters in the low frequency. The read range can read about 1 meter. Okay, 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Okay, so can read about 1 meter, and the short read range provides for better defined read ranges. Now, the application for tags in this frequency range includes the access control, smart cards, and shelf inventories. You can use it for access control. You can use them for smart card, this type of frequencies, and you tag. You can use them for inventory, shelf inventory. So when you see like a staff having an ID and he wears it in his neck, and when he uses the ID to touch or bring it close to smart doors, it opens for him. This is usually a high frequency for this application in tag. This tag is usually a high frequency. Now, the data rate for high frequency is around 26 kilobit per second. Around 26 kilobit per second. Now, let's go to ultra high frequency. For ultra high frequency, we say the tag works at 860 to 960 megahertz megahertz, and works at about 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth. So it can work from 860 to 960 megahertz and up to 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth. Now, the data rates that's the speed for these tags can be from 50 to 150 kilobit per second. The data rate, the speed, is from 50 kilohertz, 50 kilobit per second to 150 kilobit per second. And it could even be more. Could even be more than this. Could even go higher than this. Now, the tags are popular for tracking inventory. This type of tag, using ultra high frequency, they are essential for tracking inventories. The read range for passive ultra high tags is around 10 to 20 feet. Okay, about 10 to 20 feet, which makes it better choice for reading pellet tags. However, in the active tag, it's used as a read range, or its read range for active tag is about 100 meters. It can go up to as high as 100 meters. This is super high. This is super high. It can be applied for about 100 meters for active power, when you are having an active power supply to the tag. Okay, and you have what we call the ultra high frequency. There it can read up to 100 meters. Okay? Now, let's go to the third aspect. Remember, we said there are three things to look at: the power read tag. When you are studying the tag system in RFID, we look at the power read tag concept. We looked at the frequency of operations. And the third one is the communication protocols. What communication protocols do tags in RFID use? Now, we say the air interface protocol adopted for the RFID tag is called the slotted Aloha. Slotted Aloha is the communication protocol. And we call it the slotted Aloha, and is a network communication protocol and protocol techniques that is similar to the Ethernet protocol that we've talked about in chapter 2 before. So the protocol that the tag RFID tag uses is called the slotted Aloha. Now, in a slotted Aloha protocol, the tags are only allowed to transmit at a predetermined times. Only allowed to transmit at predetermined times after being energized. This technique reduces the chance of data collisions between RFID tag transmission and allows for reading up to 1,000 tags per second. Because it can only transmit at predetermined time, you cannot transmit at any time and every time. Only the time that has been slotted or allocated to you, that's only when you can transmit. So because of this, it reduces collision, it avoids collision, it reduces collision, okay? And it can have a reading of up to 1,000 tags per second. Now, the operating range of the RFID tags can be up to 30 meters in this regard, and this means that multiple tags can be energized at the same time, and a possible RFID data collision can occur when you do this. Okay? We say the operating range of this RFID tag can be up to 30 meters in this regard for this protocol. Now, when we do this, this means that the multiple tags, if you have a multiple tag put in place, we can energize many of these multiple tag, and at the same time they can transmit. And when this is possible, the RFID data collision can happen. Okay. Now, if a collision occurs, the tag will transmit again after a random back of time. You have to wait. After a back of time, you transmit again. If you collide, you have to wait again and then transmit after a back of time. You keep doing this till your transmit go through for you. The reader transmit continuously until there is no tag collision, until the channel is free for you to transmit. Once there is no tag collision, then it goes through for you. So this is when we do multiple of them to transmit the same time. Okay? Now let's move on. The last application or the last technology, we talked about the Bluetooth in this chapter as our first technology. And then we talked about WiMax as our second technology. And then we talked about RFID as our third technology that is used with wireless network. Then the fourth technology that is used with wireless network is called the mobile communication technology. Now, this mobile communication technology includes, simply say, is a summary of some of the other wireless technology that are currently available. One of it is called the CDMA. CDMA is Code Division Multiple Access. Code Division Multiple Access, which is used by mobile phones or mobile communication networks. The mobile communication networks, they use the CDMA, Code Division Multiple Access. Now, this is a communication system in which spread spectrum techniques are used to multiplex more than one signal into a single channel. In this regard, we use what we call the spread spectrum technique to multiplex. Multiplexing is just to coerce many signals into one, to pass through one channel. Many channels to coerce them to pass through one channel. That's multiplexing. Now, we say this is a communication system in which the spread spectrum techniques, we use the spread spectrum techniques that we are talking about the code division multiple access. We're saying in code division multiple access, we use the spread spectrum techniques to multiplex more than one signal into a single channel. More than one signal into a single channel. Okay? Then another technology that is used with the mobile communication is called LTE. LTE means long-term evolution. And LTE is used with the 4G wireless communication standard. And it has been designed to provide up to 10 times 3G network speed. The 4G, fourth generation network, mobile networks, is designed and developed to operate 4 times better speed than the 3G networks. Is that okay? Now let's move on. Now, another mobile communications technologies or technologies that are used with mobile communication, apart from the CDMA, code division multiple access, and LTE, which is used for the 4th generation devices or 4th generation mobile telecommunication. Another one that is used is called the HSPAs, the HSPAs Plus, which is the evolved high-speed packet access. The high-speed packet access. Evolved high-speed packet access. And this one has been developed to provide the network speed comparable to LTE networks. Remember, LTE was divided with 4G. Okay, the HSPA, which is the evolved high-speed packet access, has been developed to be compatible or provide network speeds that are comparable to the LTE networks. Theoretical speeds for downloads are said to be about, for this HSPA, are said to be about 168 megabit per second, which is very high, and the uplink about 22 megabit per second. Then another one, and before we talk about the fourth one, we say the 3G and 4G were developed to provide broadband networks, wireless services, broadband network wireless services, and we say the standard defining the 3G wireless is called the International Mobile Communication, IMT 2000. That's the standard that is defining the 3G mobile networks. Now the 4G, which is the 4th generation mobile networks, is the successor to the 3G technology, and it provides download speed of up to 100 megabit per second. Then another one that has been developed is the Edge. Edge is called the Enhanced Data GSM Evolution. Enhanced Data GSM Evolution, and it provides a download speed of about 384 kilobit per second. A download speed of about 384 kilobit per second. That's Edge technology for mobile communication or mobile application. So these are the terminologies that we talked about, and with this we've come to the end of this section. The terminology are inquiry procedure, paging procedure, piconet, last mile, backscatter, RFID tag, reader, slotted aloha, which is a communication protocol for the tag RFID tag system. So with this we come to the end of this section of this chapter. Thank you very much.